campaigns on abortion rights and was closely involved in the campaign to oppose reducing the abortion time limit in 2008 and in the current campaign against the counselling amendments. Over to you, Dr. Evan Harris.
Well, I haven't heard what everyone else has said, so I'm not going to say very much, therefore, because it would merely repeat, but it's nice to see some old friends here and Julie having rephrased that. And so I just want to talk generally, if I may, because it's very rare that we have a room like this in Parliament with parliamentarians who are interested and provide a voice and a campaigning voice. It looks like that the amendment will be defeated tomorrow, and I hope even if the mover, I can use that term, doesn't call it that it is called anyway, and that has to be organised, because it will be defeated and it ought to be defeated, and it stops it just because David Alton's going to do the same in the Lords, I've no doubt, so it would be just very useful to have that Commons view put on the record. And that will be, in a sense, the first victory since the last victory, defeating a relatively close vote in the last Parliament to 22 weeks. But we ought to reflect that the only victories that are being achieved, the only ones really, even outside Parliament, are defensive ones. And obviously we're all aware, Diane particularly, since she was the brave sponsor of the Northern Ireland bid in 2008, that we were prevented by a business motion from debating any pro-choice moves last time, and I just feel, as you let people know, I feel that was a waste of 13 years of a large pro-choice, pro-human rights majority in the House of Commons, and now we will probably have to be defensive here. Nevertheless, there are all sorts of things that can be tackled, as we've just heard, outside primary legislation, and there ought to be, I believe, an organised campaign to put us on the front foot and not ever being on the back foot, because this was I think a close-run thing, in a sense, and we're not out of the woods. And the last thing I want to say is that what we should think of as victory tomorrow, and work still has to be done here. Anne Milton's letter to MPs was really hard to complain about, okay? But it's not the only thing the government has said, even since the so-called U-turn at the end of last week. Downing Street has said they sympathise with the need for independent counselling, again, even just this week, which suggests that there's still this presumption. And the only thing that I think we should not object to, as far as Anne Milton can go at the dispatch box tomorrow in response to the amendment, is to say that the government will take a look at whether there's a problem. Okay? Yes. There's nothing wrong with that, because we want to be able to, we're not scared of scrutiny, as the Select Committee showed, that scrutinised the existing law and the science base and found it to be satisfactory. But if there's any question of them proposing something, even by consultation, without having first shown there's a problem, and secondly having some support from the organisations, let alone women, but the professional medical organisations involved in implementing the law, then I think that is criticisable, and I hope parliamentarians here will while welcoming the fact the government's opposing this, make very clear that it's not going to be acceptable on an issue like this, for the first time ever, for the government to proceed without the support of professional medical organisations. As I say, I don't think we should have to rely on that. Women and progressive people should lead the way, but nevertheless, if that has been the convention, we ought to use the fact that that's the convention to make clear that it would be an absurd step for them to take. So I hope that this is the basis of an ongoing group that can meet to plan parliamentary questions and to plan campaigns, probably non-parliamentary, non-legislative, to get the Department of Health to move on things that years ago they said they'd move on, like, for example, organising a central system for late-term abortions and so forth. So there's a big agenda, and I hope this is the spark for taking positive steps.
Thank you very much.